Hi everyone. For this discussion, I wanted to follow up on what I shared on my last video. In discussion 2, I focused on how we use fast and slow thinking when making decisions. So this time I wanted to go a little deeper into what drives those processes and how emotion, confidence, and our brain's natural habits shape the way we think and react. So like starting with the DHS case, the story about the father taking pictures of his daughter really stood out to me again, but for a different reason this time. It showed how fear and bias can completely take over rational thought. The man who reported him wasn't trying to do something wrong, but his emotions caused him to jump to conclusions before getting all the facts correct. I think that happens more often than we realize. I've done the same thing in small ways, like assuming someone ignored an email when they just didn't see it yet, or it's a good reminder that emotion can sometimes guide our thinking faster than logic does. In Osmond's reading, she explained that our minds don't just switch between fast and slow thinking. Instead, we move between the two, depending on what the situation calls for. That really connected with me because where I work at Region 18, I use both types of thinking every day. When I'm like handling something routine like checking network connectivity or resolving a common issue, I rely on my experience and move quickly. But when it is something new or complex, I slow down and think through each step carefully. Osmond helped me realize that both styles of thinking are important, and the key is knowing when to use each one. Pennycook's article added to that by saying that fast thinking is not always bad and slow thinking is not always good. Both can work well depending on how we use them. I see that all the time at work. Sometimes my gut instinct points me in the right direction immediately, and other times I have to stop and analyze the problem before acting. It made me realize that smart decision making comes from balance, using intuition when it fits, but also knowing when to step back and think more carefully. But yeah, Rachel's reading on the brain's default mode network was also interesting. He explained how our brains are still active even when we are not focused on the task. That clicked with me because I have noticed that I've often come up with the best ideas when I'm not trying to force them. Like when I'm driving between school districts or taking a short break, it reminded me that giving your mind a little space is not a waste of time. So sometimes it is what helps you see things more clearly and connect ideas in new ways, But also Sutherland's chapter 3 and 4 from Irrationality tied everything together for me. He talked about how people convince themselves they are being logical even when emotions, overconfidence, and selective thinking are influencing them. I've seen that happen in the IT work, especially when someone, including myself, is sure they already know what is wrong with the system and ignore signs that point in another direction. So Sutherland made me think about how important it is to stay open-minded and not let pride or habit take over. Altogether, these readings help me see that thinking clearly takes self-awareness and effort. At Region 18, that means slowing down, checking the facts, and being open to new information before making decisions that affect an entire network or district. In my personal life, it reminds me to pause before reacting or making assumptions. The biggest thing I have taken away from these readings is that clear thinking is not about being perfect, but it is about understanding how our minds really work and being mindful enough to question first reaction before jumping into conclusions. But thank you all for listening, and I'm looking forward to hearing what stood out to everyone else this week.